of somebody taking up a loan when you are no longer working, when your businesses are down, and this is when you will think of taking up a loan. Remember, people had already taken up loans to finance their businesses. Now the business is collapsing and you want to take up a more bigger loan when actually you are not working. It became a challenge, and this is where we didn't get it right.
I feel your pain, Mr. Kayondo, and I put this question to finance people because ultimately URA comes for you, and I think they really come on handy to knock and ask if you've paid your taxes. Downtown in Chikubo, the whole of the traders there, and Ochaila didn't have answers for me because I was telling him, what are you doing for the traders themselves, money for you. I don't know if the Myoga was reaching you though. The Myoga money. You're laughing about it. Why?
Myoga, I think, goes down in those down microfinance institutions, the small ones in the villages. Nobody from Kampala. I think the allocations can't be in Kampala or in business with businessmen. It is for Myoga is for the small timers, the micro ones.
The micro ones. So you didn't have anywhere to go except to commercial banks?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So let's see how this budget is going to support you in a way with allocation of money. Ochaila Pia just told us today that they have allocated over 100 billion to the small and medium enterprises in the next budget. So let's see how that goes about that. I'll come back to you shortly. Deo, let me bring you in as the Uganda Manufacturers Association. Clearly, you've heard it from Everasto here, who is saying that the microfinance, the Uganda Development Bank was given this money, about 550 billion shillings, and it was supposed to help manufacturers like you during the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, Ochaila is telling us that they're going to more recapitalize the Uganda Development Bank as the Minister of Finance to extend capital to you, the private sector, for you to be able to start manufacturing and help the economy recover. Are you optimistic?
I wouldn't say I'm very optimistic. Let me get back to the COVID fund, which was put in place in the first place. This money was put in UDB. It did help us a bit. Some industries which were struggling managed to access some of this money. And the new industries that were coming on stream to support the COVID pandemic, like the sanitizer manufacturers, and were able to access this money. But as earlier said, this money is not a fund meant for a pandemic like COVID. You have to apply for this money like a normal loan. You have to find security. You have to go through the process. And the process of obtaining this money is not different from the usual commercial banks where we get money. And two, the cost, although a little lower than the commercial banks, it's still very high, in the range of 12 to 14%. So, as a manufacturer, we also have challenges of accessing, and the fund is very small. I think we need to redefine, when we say SMEs or industries, we need to redefine what SME or a medium-scale industry in economy the size of Uganda is. When I go to UDB, I'm not going to ask for 100 million. I'm going to ask for 3 billion, 5 billion. So in a bank that has been given so little money, the impact is very small, and that this money goes to a few companies and it dries up. Government needs to focus on UDB, on UDC, and other long-term lending institutions to make the money available. I know in this budget they say they are putting, what do they say, 100 billion. That's still very little money for economy of our size. And two, this money is put in microfinance institutions. That supports, and I agree, it supports to the micro businesses, but it does not support the medium-sized industries. Medium-sized industries and large, they need sizable amount of money. So when you say you are going to support, I think there should be, I know the money is not enough, the basket is not enough, but there should be other ways of supporting the small and medium industries and the small and medium business through a tax policy, a good tax policy structure. And I've been here, my brother Moses Kagwa is here, the director of tax policy, and we have been arguing on this issue, that the small and medium industries and businesses need to be supported through a good tax policy. They need to support it through a good competition law so that they can stand and compete against the FDIs who are getting tax rebates on arrival. This is the conversation we should be having here.
So, Mr. Kayumba, your suggestion, and just to get it right, you're raising very critical points, and I don't want us to lose them. The first one is you're saying they should pump more money into the Uganda Development Bank and the Microfinance Support Center, yes, to support people. Yes. But then you are the same person who was telling me that this money was actually very expensive and difficult to get amidst the pandemic. So do you then think that government needs to rethink the structures through which they pass money to get to you easily through already established systems? No, for example, if government gave the Uganda Manufacturers Association, if they say we are giving you, 50 to 100 or 120 and 200 billion, to say you're getting a loan as Uganda Manufacturers Association led to your members. I wanted to first of all get you. So where do you want them to go?
I think they are accredited institutions to manage lending and management of debt.
But you're saying it's not easy to get that money.
It is not so easy to get because it is little. It is still expensive to some. It is still expensive. But if UDB was given more money and probably also expanded to cover more areas, it would be able to suffice. If UDC is the government investment arm. If I have a project that I cannot handle, I can go to UDC and tell them, let's do this in a PPP form. That's what I'm talking about.
They were given 100 billion.
That's little money, 100 billion. I tell you, when I go to UDB, I'd ask for 3, 4, 5 billion. Because that's $1 million, 1.5.
Yeah. And so then the suggestion you are saying is that, can we review the tax policy? Conclude on that. I think I loved it. Say it again.
That is the most critical thing, that we should review the tax policy to make the small and medium industries more profitable, and therefore investors can invest at that level and grow. I can give you one example. Government, one of its efforts to support local manufacturing came up with import substitution scheme. They said, we are in a pandemic, we should support import substitution. And in so doing, let's produce our own sanitizers, let's produce on this. But you know how they did it? They raised import duty on each and everything to 35%, including intermediate raw materials. And who pays? Units, and also should support the medium, small and medium industries.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me bring you Daniel here. Daniel, this budget looks all rosy for people into agro-processing, and I know that Raboni does a lot of agro-processing, and so, you know, a significant chunk is coming to you. Are you excited as agro-processors, and what is the ease of
significant portion, what the definition of significant portion means?
agro-processing, sir? Everyone has been saying they're putting
I'll
money.
just give you some of the figures. I read this budget and slept over it. And then asked myself a question. 30 million Ugandans are depending on agriculture, including 11 million direct smallholder farmers. And you allocate 1.67 trillion out of the almost 45 trillion budget to support agro-industrialization. That's 3.7%. In simple terms, it means you are saying 68% of the population fight for 3.7% of the budget. That's what it means. Now, for us who are in agro-industrialization, I look through the things that they would like to do. They look extremely very rosy on paper. But as they always say, the devil is always in the detail. I looked at what they try to do. The total warehousing space, which is a critical thing for us in the industrial space, is 46,500 metric tons of warehousing space that they would like to put up in the different parts of the country. Now, that can only cover 0.4% of the farming community. Now, how rosy a picture is that for somebody who is trying to develop the agro-industrial space? We had a big shock here for us who are in the maize industry. The maize that was going does not die at the border. It doesn't die on the trucks. It dies right at the farmer level, where the farmer picks the maize, and chicken are sleeping in that maize. The goats are sleeping in that maize. I was in Kiriandongo talking to some smallholder farmers the other day. Farmers do not have simple things like tarpaulins. Just a simple tarpaulin. What do? They'll put that maize right on the ground. But what does the government do? Oh, we shall and get them to do basic post-harvest handling. I'll share with you some of the figures. We are trying to get this why somebody has 1 bag, another one has 2 bags, another one has 3 bags. And then the metric tons that you are putting up can only cover 0.4%. If you multiply that by 11 million, it will take us 236 years just to cover 11 million farmers. And that is on the assumption that no more additional farmers are put onto the market. There's no additional population of farmers. So where does the resource allocation go? Do you actually mean what you say by putting the funds to help this agro-industrial space? It's a bit difficult. Now, coming to us who are in the agro-industrial space, I liked what Dr. Atingego mentioned, that is begging for money. to put in the SCF. I've been in the line, in the queue for 3 years for the SCF fund, and I simply can't access it. Yes, EAGC Standard Warehouse, $325,000. Now, for an SME, where do you get that kind of money? The local financing that is available, somebody is giving you 3 months to pay back the money. The moment you touch the money, the next month they want their interest. Now, what do? I'll operate at that very, very small level. There is nothing that I can be able to do to trigger additional investment. Why? The financing that I can get is so short term and so costly that I can only operate at a very, very small space. If the SCF is available there, for me to recoup that $325,000, it will take me 10 years. But you are giving me money which you want me to start paying next month. Are you trying to grow me or are you trying to suffocate me? Those are the questions that we should be asking in this case.
Wow. 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 My brother, you brought it home. What do we do? What do you advise government to do moving forward to support you?
The solutions for these things are not complex. The question is, are you willing? Are you actually willing? Let me go. The government can say we don't have enough resource envelope to help you. But there are other fiscal incentives it can put in place. If you went to the commercial bank and told them, if you lend somebody in this, depending on what you want to promote, and I see here the theme of the budget is industrialization for inclusive growth, and I put an underlying word, inclusive. Inclusive means you are trying to bring everybody into the space. Now, simple things like giving them an incentive. If you lend to somebody who is in this processing field, we shall give you a tax incentive of this amount of money. The banks will sit down and do their calculations and say, where do I benefit from? Do I benefit by lending to government? Do I benefit by lending to companies that are doing this space? Then they'll take a decision. You don't have to have the money, but you have the power through the fiscal incentives that you can give them. And they'll respond. Now, if they have no incentive, they'll sit on their chairs and wait for you 6 months when you are broke to come and borrow their money. And they'll lend it to you. What exactly? You have these smallholder farmers. You send 30 million. Somebody's go and buy 2 fish and put in a stall because he has an idea they want to borrow some money from Emio. That won't grow. There are things that they can do. I did some simple math. They don't earn money. That's why you'll find the leaders going to the villages and people are begging for just 1,000 shillings. Why? Simply they're not earning money. Okay. These things are no. Why don't you help this person to get improved seed? That directly feeds into a buyer who is ready to buy. That person, by using improved seed, that money changes to 133,000 shillings. By using just improved seed. And this is an investment of around 100,000 shillings extra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Guys, I'm so sorry. Our time is fast spent. I would love to have heard from you. I'll give each of you a minute to tell us a way forward, and then people are going for news. It's 1 o'clock, and we have cheated some time for them. Yeah. Way forward, Mr. Evarosto, in a minute, and then Deosa, way forward.
Yeah, as I mentioned, because you were mentioning something about Myoga, and we computed those who received Myoga, because usually they give 30 million to about how many people, but usually we computed and each one is entitled to about 400,000 shillings, and I think this one can help business to as a stimulus package.
I think like you had said earlier that it's given to small.
Yes, to the micro. But I think we also need something which can come up and help the business community. And there should be a program, because much as we cherish the manufacturers, the distributors, we need them in the chain so that they can also survive.
Okay.
So the manufacturers, he does the manufacturing, like East African Roofing, then he needs me as a distributor so that his goods can reach the market.
Okay.
So we need to finance or to make provisions for the entire value chain.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kayondo. Dale, your final say on this in a minute, sir.
Yeah, quick one. Government has been forthright in putting in place systems and interventions to help the economy, to help the small and medium. But what has failed is the continuous monitoring and evaluation and the timely moderation of the programs to match the time. We request that the government now gets back to do the continuous monitoring and evaluation and timely interventions. That will help a lot of things you are hearing, because they put in place policies and it takes a whole year, cycle of a year to get back and to change the law or to do something. I think that's my advice.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Evaristo Kayondo, Chairman Kasita, thank you. Let's give him some love, guys. Mr. Kaimbadeo, thank you very much, the Deputy Chairperson for Uganda Manufacturers Association, and Daniel Jolova, co-founder and managing director of Raboni Group. Thank you very much. My goodness, I would really have loved to have more of these conversations, because you're the ones on ground. So I'll see if we can have you guys tomorrow once again. But thank you very much, guys. Let's give them some love. All right, a special thank you to everyone who has been watching. Be sure to catch us tomorrow, same time, same place. A special thank you to Salt TV, Smart 24, NBS, and TV Uganda, BBS, and URA TV. Thank you very much to our sponsors, the Ministry of Finance, Accord, URA, Siatini, CS Bag, and Odi. And thank me for moderating this. All right, love you guys. See you. Coming up is news at different stations. Stay on your favorite television station, wherever you're watching. Thank you. My name is Solomon Seranja. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization,